Twitch and stuff. Welcome to Priming 101. Today we're going to talk about how to prime a canvas or work surface to get it ready for painting. My next class in 2 weeks is going to dive into space painting, but for the purposes of that we need our canvas to be black, not white. So I thought this would be a nice opportunity to talk about priming in general, because this applies if you're working on painting wood or stone, if you want to paint little rocks to go in your garden, or if you're wanting to paint your canvas black. So we'll talk, this is going to be a relatively short class. So we're going to talk about what to use and how to do it. So you need your work surface, in this case a nice canvas. We're going to use one of these, the little sponge brushes that cost like 10 cents at the hardware store, and then the stuff you want to use is called gesso. I don't know why this does this backwards. It's an acrylic primer, usually comes in a tub. Golden is a really good brand, although I've seen a couple of others. This stuff is thick, and I like it in a tub because we're not going to be mixing paint, we're not doing any kind of color blending, but this goes on very, very thick, and so a nice sponge brush actually works really well. And I'm not using a palette, we're just going to dip this right into the tub there and slather it on the canvas. This also works if you are working on a painting and it doesn't really go the way you want it to, and so you want to reuse the canvas. You can just put a few coats of primer right over it and start again. That's kind of the best part about acrylic. With white you might need 3 or 4 coats. With black, usually 1 is enough. This particular primer, with the golden brand, it says opaque acrylic primer right there on the bucket. This one actually dries with a matte finish. When the light hits it, the light will scatter across it. You won't see a glossy reflection. And most of the time when you go to the art store and you get a canvas like this one that's already been primed, this has already been primed with white gesso. That's what that is. Most of the time when you get a canvas, it's going to be primed with white. And ditto for the white. It's usually a matte finish, and so it feels very different versus a glossy paint, which feels much smoother. And so we just take very, very gentle strokes. We don't need to go too bananas with it, but yeah, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Black, 1 coat usually does it. White, you might need 2 or 5. It really depends. I have a different brand of white gesso, and I think when I was trying to cover up an old painting that just wasn't really going the way I wanted it to, I needed like 4 coats, and I really needed to lay it on pretty thick for it to work. You'll know if it's not thick enough if it looks like, it's kind of a bad example, but if you can see the canvas through there, that's not enough paint. Keep going. Oh, I didn't name this right. I forgot to rename the class. Sorry. This video will be available on Twitch for a few days, and then I will pull it off and post it onto YouTube. But this is space painting part 1. Part 2 is going to dive into actual painting of space, but we had to prime the canvas first, and this is going to take a bit to dry. That's a lot of paint, and I didn't want to be like, okay, everyone paint your canvas and then wait for, come back in a half an hour. And so I thought it would be better to just do 2 classes. So this one's going to be relatively short, and then in the next class in 2 weeks we will dive into painting space. And I have some really fun ideas that I can't wait to play with. So if you are working with this is a canvas that's been stretched around a wooden frame. Set that down for a minute. If I pick this up, oh, it's attached. All right. It's got sides. If you're working with a canvas panel, those are very flat and don't have sides. This has a side. It's up to you whether or not you want to wrap the painting around the sides. Some of them I've done that, others I haven't. So actually, I'm going to flip this up. nice even strokes. And you can go pretty heavy-handed with this stuff, or heavy-handed with the paint, and you kind of want to when you're priming your surface, to make sure that there's no canvas that's visible from underneath, or in some cases, no painting that was visible from underneath there. Some of the paint that I'm going to be using in the next class in 2 weeks is metallic paint. It's let me grab the brand so you can see it. If you have a chance, I know Michael's craft store carries this. Give me just a second. Oh, where is one of them? Gimme! There we go. Alright. It's Artist Loft Academic Level 1, but this is metallic. This is cobalt blue. I don't know why it says cobalt. This is teal. But there's a row of this brand of paint that has mica powder added to it, so it's actually got a very beautiful shimmer. And there's red, yellow, orange, blue, green, black, white, silver, various metallics, so it's got like bronze and copper and stuff. It's got this guy, but all of them look very beautiful on a black canvas. They are very opaque, and they're really stunning colors, and so that's, I kind of enjoy painting with these guys, but they do add quite a lot of sheen when the light hits it when you're done. So bear that in mind. But in the case of space, I think that's gonna look cool. So I'm gonna touch up some of the priming a little bit on this guy, and then we're gonna call it a day. So like I said, this is a fairly short class. I am actually gonna do the edges just for giggles. Yeah. So those edges need to be. Ooh, yep. There we go. Yoink. And the best part about these little sponges, these little brushes here, it's acrylic paint. It washes out with water. You can reuse this guy until it's literally falling apart. Another fun type of painting that I've done with this style is faux stained glass, which again, using those metallic paints, but then laying out a design or pattern using like 1/8 inch thick tape, masking tape, and then that's your stained glass pattern. It's a class I taught last year and actually went over really well. It was really fun. Oh, our food delivery came. Yay! Alrighty, and those are the edges. Just kind of keep going, touching up a little bit of white that's poking through. I'm getting paint on my hand. That's normal. Welcome to being an artist. Alright, here we go. Once this dries, it will look, the light's reflecting off of it now because the paint's wet, but once that dries, the light will not reflect at all. It's going to look very, very flat, which in this case is going to be really interesting because it's going to make that metallic paint, I hate this phrase, pop really, really brightly. Yay, paint. Okay. Okay, so I will see you in 2 weeks. I will be art streaming next week on Friday, same time, just not specifically a class. I'm going to just challenge myself to dive into some kind of drawing or painting or something like that. So I hope you're having a lovely evening, and we will continue with space in 2 weeks. All right, ping me if you have any questions and all that jazz, and it was good to see everyone. All right, take care.